but according to two government officials, when a violent earthquake shook city in the early hours of February 6, 7-story building broke down and 29 people, one of the survivors, looked as if the structure had liquefied. Illustrations and interviews with 6 people familiar with Trend Garden's history. At time, Erdogan said amnesty, which was first granted to building owners before his re-election in 2018, aimed at resolving disputes between citizens and state over millions of buildings built against urban planning. Now, the devastated Trend Garden is the subject of a forensic investigation to determine responsibility for its collapse. According to government officials who did not want to be named, local prosecutors have arrested at least 3 people linked the building on preliminary charges of causing for negligence. Officials said the investigation would address all aspects of the building's life. While attention in Turkey is focused on how poor construction may have contributed to devastation caused by earthquake, liest natural disaster in country's modern history, officials have vowed to identify culprits. The government said more than 230 people were arrested, including construction contractors and developers. Aftershocks in Turkey and Syria, where more than 50 people lost their lives, continue to shake the region. Trend Garden was one of more than 200,000 buildings that Turkish officials said had been demolished or needed to be demolished urgently in areas torn down by the earthquake. An earthquake on Monday caused more buildings to collapse in Malatya. The Turkish Presidential Communications Presidency and the Urbanization Ministry did not respond to requests for comment, including whether amnesty and policy contributed to the earthquake-triggered destruction. Erdogan, who has led Turkey since 2003, said in a statement following the disaster that building standards had improved under his supervision. According to government officials, Engin Aslan is among those arrested as part of the Trend Garden investigation. Corporate records show that a Turkish company that owns the building, according to title deed documents, is the majority owner. Aslan's lawyer, Muhammet Karadogan, declined to comment, but they said the amnesty law raises key issues as it fosters a reckless culture in construction work in a country that sits on major fault lines and faces well-defined earthquake risks. Under the amnesty, property owners will be able to legalize unregistered buildings by filing electronic applications and paying taxes. The detailed guidance issued by Urbanism Ministry, which oversees the process, does not mention need for independent evaluation. However, law requires that the owner is responsible for ensuring that building is earthquake resistant. Government and laws are meant to protect people, not to endanger them. Asked whether the arrangement of illegal buildings posed security dangers, Erdogan's ruling AK Party mayor said, zoning forgiveness was not the right approach. Family tragedy among those who as a result the collapse of Trend Garden were 4 members Fatma Zehra Gorgulu's family, including 3 children and a sister. On 6th day after earthquake, Görgülü, who was sitting next to fire in freezing cold near wrecked building, remained silent and appeared frozen while rescue teams were waiting for news as rubble was being scanned. The third brother Feyza Yılmaz came to Malatya to help his brother after the disaster. Yılmaz explained the family had rented room in Trend Garden because one of Görgülü's children was close to a hospital that needed treatment for rare disease, and he had planned surgery. Görgülü was in hospital when the earthquake occurred, and her daughter and 2 sons were being cared for by other nurse. Yılmaz, 32-year-old lawyer, said he wanted to understand how a modern, solid-looking building could be demolished like house of paper. I want to know who is responsible for this, he said. According to the rescue team, 4 bodies were found the next day. Troubled buildings, the Trend Garden building, and the 2018 zoning amnesty law, is a symbol of Turkey's failure enforce strict anti-Semitic regulations under Erdogan. As some architects and civil engineers say, Turkey's population of 85 million continues to shift urban centers. Ahead of the 2018 presidential and 2019 municipal elections, Erdogan hailed the zoning pardon as a gesture of compassion for Turkish citizens facing meticulous administration. Speaking at an AKP rally in Malatya in March 2019, President told his supporters that the policy had solved problems of 88,507 Malatya citizens. According to a video of his speech, the Turkish authorities extended the pardon several times. According to government, the move brought billions of dollars to state coffers. The government said in October last year that more than 3 million households and companies had acquired their title deeds as a result. That same month, Mustafa Destici, leader of Erdogan's allied Great Union Party, proposed reviving the measure ahead of this year's presidential election to help others. Destici did not respond to a request for comment via a spokesperson on whether he continued to support the proposal. In 2019, after collapse of a building in Istanbul benefiting from a zoning amnesty and the loss of 21 lives, government pledged to speed up its plan to demolish and replace Turkey's most dangerous buildings. At time, the government said about a third of country's 20 million properties had raised security concerns, and that measures needed to be taken. However, according to Eyüp Muhcu, head of the Turkish Chamber of Architects, Turkish officials have neglected issue. Instead, the government focused on building new areas by abandoning troubled buildings to their fate. The Ministry of Urbanization also did not respond to questions about how it deals with problematic buildings and how many recently demolished buildings benefit from amnesty. Development contract. The building of Trend Garden was built more than 2 decades ago, in late 1990s, following a typical Turkish real estate deal, in which one side contributed land and other assumed construction responsibility. While dividing units, the owner said his family brought the land.